Hello, everyone. I am just going to wait for more people to go ahead and register and log in. We have 4 more minutes before we actually start. I just wanted to make sure that our connection is fine. We don't have any problems. We have quite several people registered, so make sure that you got everything up as far as, I guess, I don't know. You can see the screen. You're all set up. I will have a PowerPoint for you guys right here once we get started and we get everyone on. I see people coming in. Awesome. I'm so excited for you guys. So excited to share everything with you tonight on this beautiful Wednesday night. You will see a chat box on the right side. As I start the webinar, I would, if you have a question as I'm going, go ahead and type it in before you forget. And I will make sure that I answer all of your questions. If it fits within the presentation or the information that I'm talking about, then I will go ahead and answer it. If it fits more like towards the end, or however it plays out better, whichever way, I will get your questions answered for sure. So your chat box, if you're in your computer, should be on the right-hand side. I'm using a new system today, so bear with me if sometimes I can't find stuff. Let me see, make sure I have my slides ready for you guys. Good. People are still registering. We have 2 more minutes. We have 18 people in the room with us tonight. If you guys don't mind, and if you're on your computer, go ahead and type in the chat box. Tell me where you're watching us from tonight. Say your name and where you're from in the chat box, please. Don't be shy. Thank you, Michelle from Baton Rouge. Awesome. Go ahead and type it in. I want to see where you guys are coming from and who we're talking to. Karen, Jennifer. Karen from Prairieville. Cool. Jennifer from Pleasant Hill. Amy from Concord. Awesome. Anyone else who want to play? Tiffany from Baton Rouge. Awesome. Delila from Baton Rouge. I hope I said your name right. Claudia from California. Somewhere in California. Cool. People are still coming in. I'm so excited, you guys. I am just very passionate about this topic just because it's changed my life so much. Lynette from Houston. Darlene from Baton Rouge. If you are my friend, client on Facebook, I'm sure you've seen my transformation throughout the last several months, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Danella from Baton Rouge. Welcome, guys. More people coming in. Requests. Okay, cool. Gretchen, I think I know who that Gretchen is from Baton Rouge. Awesome. Great. Okay, more people are coming in. Let's give them 1 more minute just because I don't want people. There will be a recording of this, by the way. I suggest that if you're already on the webinar, make sure that you have somewhere to write. But you know, if you miss anything, you can always watch the recording as well. And how do you call this? And you can review information with the recording as well. I record everything that I do just because I know we're busy. We can't always make it to the live event. That's usually me that can make it to the live event. So I make it a point to record everything that we do. So if you're just coming in, I'm having everyone type in the chat box their name and where they're watching us from. So if you just joined us, go ahead and play with us and type in where you're coming from so that we know to welcome you to the room. All right. I think they're still typing. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and start. Let me see where my... Here we go. I am trying to find how I can share my screen with you guys. Blanca from Corona, Ale from Concord, of course. Let me see how I can share my screen. Okay. Oh, this would be a problem if I can't share my screen. Okay, there you go. I found my screen. Entire screen. Here we go. So it's going to look a little bit weird for a little bit until I pull up my PowerPoint, and I might not be able to see all of you. So this is what we'll do. I'm going to go full screen. So I actually may not be able to see everyone as far as when you're asking questions. I hope you can still see me, but if not, it's okay. The most important thing is that you can see the slides. So we're going to start. I call it Nutrition Mastery for Life, but really this is the Better Fat Burning webinar. And it will become clear to you as to why I called it that. So if you don't already know me, I just want to do like a quick background of who I am. I'm Anna Dornier. I am the founder of Transform FX Fitness Transformation Centers. And I have just like a little preview of one of our pages, Facebook pages, just so you can see that this is not my first rodeo. I have been in business since 2009, so 7 years in counting. I call myself human optimization specialist just because I just love optimizing our lives and our bodies for performance. And really, we help people become the best version of themselves. So we have locations in Concord, California, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Houston, Texas. So that's just a little quick, I guess, background as to, I guess, what my credentials are as far as why am I qualified to talk with you about this topic. So here is really our lifestyle right now. A lot of us are at least on one medication. Most people that we work with at Transform FX are on way too many medications. That's just the reality, and these are just the facts of like our society today. We live busy lives, so it's really hard for us to stay on track with our nutrition, even if, you know, sometimes we get on a really good roll as far as staying on track. Sometimes when life happens, we are not able to get back on track right away. That, you know, sometimes life just gets out of order, out of whack, basically. We spend most of our time being sedentary. You know, from, I kind of like this picture, from standing up to like sitting on the couch or sitting in front of the computer a lot. And we don't have the energy to do things that we love to do because of our health and our fitness. And most of us, we get stuck on just, I saw a grammar misspelling there, yo-yo dieting. And here is why things are the way they are at the moment. Most of us, we quit when we try a new diet or fitness regimen just because we don't see immediate results. We live in a microwave society, and I love this little cartoon. You know, Charlene took a more serious aim at her target weight. She pointed a gun at her scale, which is funny. We get too busy, and so what we do is we just eat what's available or what's convenient, which is mostly carbs. So I found this picture of, this is a typical picture of something that you would find at a buffet or at a hotel or something like that at their breakfast, or lunch or dessert or whatever. Is mostly carbs if you look at the offerings at those places. By the time we hit age 30, our bodies cannot process carbs efficiently, and then we wonder why we keep gaining weight as we age. That's one of the reasons, is because our bodies aren't used to processing or metabolizing glucose anymore. And then the last but not the least is, most of us know we can have a better quality of life, but we've really allowed ourselves to get caught up in our busy lives and just like, you know, oh, well, I'll take care of it later, right? And how do I know all these things? I know because I've been there before. This is a picture of mine that I was just looking through my Facebook page this morning, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was my picture when I just gave birth. My daughter, who I'm holding in my arms, is 3 days old in that picture. And this is about around that time, probably a month after, about November 2015. So it was a slow progress, and I'm gonna talk to you guys about what I used to get back into my pre-pregnancy shape, actually in a much better shape than before I got pregnant. That's what I'm gonna talk with you guys about. It's this great program, and this is what I'm gonna speak with you guys about today. And it's really more of a lifestyle change, and you'll see why. Basically, from this picture to the July 2016 picture is about 49 pounds of, I didn't know I had that much, but yes, I did. You know, because of this program, I greatly reduced my hunger and sugar cravings. Before this program, I had to eat 5 to 6 meals a day, and I was still hungry even after I ate. And I'm constantly thinking about carbs and sweets. And I no longer have that. I also had knee pain after I gave birth to my second child. And now that's also gone. All because of this program. And I can maintain and add muscle just on 2 to 3 meals a day versus eating 5 to 6 meals a day. And I'm no longer obsessed about sweets, and I no longer obsessed about cheating on my diet anymore, because my hunger and my cravings are controlled, which is totally liberating and totally life-changing. So that means that I don't have to worry about even fighting my cravings and trying to cheat because I don't have hunger and sugar cravings all day anymore. And on top of that, I have energy all day. I just have this mental clarity and mental focus because of this program. So I'm here to tell you guys today that there's a better way. There's a better way that you can use fat, stored fat, or dietary fat for energy. There's no more counting calories. You'll have a better relationship with your scale, better hormone balance, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. Reduced hunger and appetite, just like how I talked about, and it will make much more sense once we dive into the content. Endless energy, clearer skin, and many, many more. But before we go into the actual meat of the information, a lot of what you're about to learn today flies against some of the ideas that you've learned or the media has programmed, your doctor, the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, has programmed into our minds. If you've done our 6-week challenge, it's definitely a little bit different. So I want you guys to keep an open mind throughout this discussion and just look at the science and the physiological processes that I'm going to go through, because I think that once you see how everything works, it will make more sense to you. So we're going to talk about what is called the ketogenic diet. Basically, what it is a high fat, moderate protein, low carb diet. So how I usually explain it is, if you're familiar with the Atkins diet, is a lot higher fat, but the Atkins diet is still high in protein. So the big difference is the ketogenic diet, you can have higher fat, lower protein or moderate protein, and lower carbs, just like the Atkins diet in that regard as far as the carb content. So if we're looking at the food pyramid for the ketogenic diet, it will look more like this. So 65% fat is in the bottom. That's majority of where your calories will be coming from. 30% will be your proteins, and then 5% will be your green leafy vegetables, or where your fiber is going to come from. So this is the ideal. Depending on how your body is, how sensitive it is to carbs, it may be a little bit different, and that's what you're kind of going to troubleshoot as you transition, if that is something that you find that that you want to do at the end. So we're going to talk about ketones as the fourth macronutrient. We're going to repeat this over and over again throughout the presentation. Basically, we have three macronutrients that we know of. There's your carbs, there are proteins, and there's your fats. Normally, we rely on carbs for energy, and then obviously you have your protein and your fats after you've used up your carbs. Protein and fat are hardest to convert to energy as far as macronutrient goes, and that's why our body just craves carbs a lot, because it's the easiest form of macronutrient to convert to energy. When you eat the ketogenic way, you basically eat a low carb, moderate protein, and high fat diet, just like I mentioned. And when you eat this way, you eat low carb, moderate protein, high fat, you'll naturally use fat for energy. And then that fat now gets broken down into ketones. So I have like a little, I guess, cartoon for you guys here, or graphic. So basically, you can create ketones when you fast. Let's say when you skip a few meals throughout the day, or when you sleep for 8 hours or something like that. At some point, you're going to create ketones. That's actually a normal state for our body. You can create ketones, and what they call when your body makes ketones, it's called ketosis. Not to be confused by ketoacidosis. Ketoacidosis is a state where basically you have high ketones and high blood sugar at the same time, which is very dangerous. But on a normal person going into ketosis, that never happens. So it's a totally different state than ketoacidosis. So you're looking at, let's say, your pancreas. When you lower your carb intake and your protein intake at the same time, the only thing that's left for your body to use for energy is fats. So then you have this fat cell here that's either fats from your diet or fats from your stored body fat, like from your belly or your thighs or whatever your problem areas are where you carry most of your fat. That fat cell or fat cell gets broken down into a fatty acid, and those fatty acids get converted into ketones in your liver. And then those ketones now get used by your body for energy when it gets to your blood. So that's really all the graphic is showing you on this. So because of that, you can consider ketones as the fourth macronutrient. So when you lower your carbs enough and you eat a moderate protein diet, and you increase your fats high enough, your body is going to slowly transition into burning fat for energy, which is a sustained energy, a cleaner source of energy. It doesn't require insulin for it to enter your cell, ketones. And so that means that from an insulin resistance standpoint, it will help you become more insulin sensitive, which brings me to my next slide. So again, this just kind of shows you how it works. So if you have, let's say, dietary fat or fat from your fat cells, like from your belly, for instance, they get broken down into fatty acids and ketones and converted into ketones in your liver. And then these ketones now can be used by your brain, by your heart, by your muscles. So it's really more of a, what we call it, like a dual fuel. Your body can use both glucose and ketones for energy, but the problem is we can't use ketones enough because we're always eating a high carb, high protein diet. That's why the ketogenic diet is designed the way it is. So again, you enter a state of ketosis, and what that means is that your body is now burning either your stored body fat or fat from your diet, or both, depending on how far along in the fat adaptation you are. So we call, once your body has learned how to use fats for fuel, we now call that being fat adapted. Right now, if you haven't done ketogenic diet, you are carb adapted. So we're helping you transition in the ketogenic diet from being a carb burner to being a fat burner. So that's really all it means, being in a state of ketosis. So this is the thing that I'm seeing right now after working with thousands and thousands of clients throughout the years. The two main causes of our health and our weight problems is nutrient deficiency. Our bodies aren't getting the nutrients it needs from the food. And then our cells are so insulin resistant that the nutrients can't get into the cell. I'll go into that a little bit more. Second, it is insulin resistance. So those two are kind of intertwined, and I'll tell you why. So this is how insulin works. And I'm a firm believer that the amount of weight or fat that we gain is directly correlated to the amount of insulin we produce over a lifetime. And if we're eating a high carb diet, which most of us are, it's really tough, because whenever you eat a high sugar or high carb meal, you're always going to trigger insulin. And so in order to understand what insulin resistance is, we need to understand first how insulin works. So insulin, if you want to think about it, it's a key. So we have insulin receptors in our cell, and insulin acts as a key that unlocks the cell so that glucose can enter our cell. So this is a problem when we're insulin resistant. That means that our cells don't recognize insulin anymore. So this lock-in key, this key does not fit the insulin receptor. So the glucose cannot enter the cell. And that's the problem when we eat a high carb meal, because then if the glucose is not absorbed or taken in by your cells, that means the sugar stays high in your blood, and that's what's called diabetes. And I'm a firm believer that if we're not already diabetic, obviously if you weren't diagnosed with type 1, from type 1 is you were born with it. But if you haven't been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, most of us are going to be on our way there, because like I said earlier, at about age 30, our bodies get less efficient at metabolizing and processing carbs. And so this is kind of, let me see, a quick graphic of how insulin resistance can affect us. So if you think about, let me back up real quick with this graphic. So if you think about, if the glucose can't enter the cells, that means that we also can't absorb a lot of the nutrients that we get from our food. So even if we're eating really good, we're getting vitamins and minerals, if those can't enter our cells, then really we're going to get messed up, because our bodies aren't able to get the nutrients that it needs. So why insulin? Insulin is actually called a master hormone for this very reason, that it is the key to unlock the cell so that we can absorb a lot of the things and our bodies can work. Because if you can't absorb nutrients and glucose, and if you can't process glucose, what happens is the rest of the systems in your body get all out of whack. So from your thyroid hormones get affected, your sex hormones get affected, all of those different hormone systems get affected. And that's why I put hormone balance next to insulin, because insulin is actually in charge of the hormone balance in our body. And if you think about it, that's huge. Whenever you mess with somebody's hormone, you mess with their whole body. And so that's why understanding the insulin part of this is going to be key for you to understand why the ketogenic diet works so well and makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. So this is insulin resistance, this quick graphic. Whenever we eat bad carbs, or just carbs in general, it doesn't have to be bad, we make insulin, our bodies make insulin. But when our cells, again, resist insulin, we can't absorb the glucose, so the glucose stays high in our blood sugar, in our blood. And so our bodies think that we don't have sugar, so we're staying hungry, we're staying wanting carbs and wanting sweets and wanting salty carbs or whatever it is that you tend to prefer. For me, it's sweets. Then even if our sugar is high, our bodies don't think that we're getting enough carbs, so our bodies want more. And then whatever sugar stays in our system gets converted into fat. It stores as fat. And then because we're not getting the glucose or the energy that we need, we're always feeling tired and hungry, and then the cycle starts all over again. You want more carbs, and this just whole vicious cycle. So this is insulin resistance. And what the ketogenic diet does is, because ketones don't need insulin in order to enter your cell, now you have another source of energy, a clean source of energy that your body can now use. So your body performs better, because then you don't need carbs. There's no thing as an essential carb. So just kind of put that out there. Put it a kind of a analogy for both, or a comparison for both systems. So this is what happens in a traditional diet, either high carb, low carb, high protein. As long as you have carbs and protein too high, so that you can't break down fats for fuel, it's going to be hard for your body to access fats. So you're going to be a carb burner if you're not doing the ketogenic diet. Just keep that in mind. So when you eat something like bread, for instance, your glucose levels rise, your pancreas secrete insulin, and then your insulin shuttles glucose in the cell, and that's how you get energy. If you're on the ketogenic diet and you're fat adapted and you're using now fats for energy, you never have to need insulin, maybe a little bit, not as much compared to a carb burner. Your glucose levels basically stay stable or not go high at all. And then whatever fats you have in either stored or from your diet, it gets broken down by lipase into triglycerides, and then your triglycerides get broken down into fatty acids in your liver, and then your liver converts the fatty acids into ketones, and that's how you can get energy. So this diagram just really shows to you just how important it is. Again, the amount of insulin you produce is directly correlated to how much weight you're going to gain throughout your lifetime. So when you become fat adapted, you never have to really rely on insulin as much. And that means that you're not going to gain weight. And there's a lot more other benefits to having ketones for energy as well. I'll give you a couple of examples. When your ketone levels are elevated in your blood, even if you eat a high carb meal, for instance, or any carbs at all, research shows that your blood sugar won't spike as high when you have ketones in your blood. So that's huge. On top of that, ketones are muscle sparing. And what that means is it protects your muscles from being broken down for energy. So that means whatever muscles that you have that you've created in your life, you can keep it and never have to break it down for energy. And because most people who are carb burners lose a certain about 0.5% of muscle mass each year, that's huge. That means that you're able to keep the muscles that you have now. And if you're going to add working out into your regimen, that means you're going to build more muscle, and muscles burn more fat. So you're going to really accelerate your result in that regard. So I hope you get how important that is in terms of your insulin sensitivity and making you more sensitive to insulin, your cells more sensitive to insulin, and protecting your muscles, increasing your metabolism just by having ketones in your system. So it's really, really powerful. So this is how, kind of like a food list of how you would be eating or where your calories will be coming from in terms of food. So your meat will be, higher fats of beef, pork, chicken, fish, and shellfish. So for instance, if you're eating fish, you're going to eat fattier fish like mackerel or salmon. For pork, you're going to eat the belly, bacon. If you're eating the beef, let's say if you're eating ground beef, you're going to go 80-20 versus 96-4 as far as the amount of fat, so 20% of fat versus 4% fat is what you want. If you're eating chicken, you're going to be eating chicken thighs instead of chicken breast. If you're eating eggs, you're going to eat the whole egg and not get rid of the yolk, which is awesome. And I'll show you kind of some of my meals that I've been eating. Most vegetables are good, mostly low-carb vegetables. You'll know if a vegetable is high in carbs, like carrots, potatoes or whatever, obviously are high in carbs. Most dairy, full-fat options are good unless you're sensitive to dairy. Grass-fed butter, heavy cream, sour cream, high-fat yogurt, full-fat cheeses. So if you're looking at this food list, your meals are going to be very rich, very satisfying because of the fat content, and very rich because, again, of the fat content, and because you're actually not triggering insulin anymore. You can also have more salts. Ketones are actually diuretics, so you can have more electrolytes and you can add more salt and flavor to your food, which is amazing. So you're now going away from the bland chicken breast or whatever without any salt, which is I ate that way for many, many years. So I know how excruciating it is sometimes to eat another piece of chicken breast, So when I heard about the ketogenic diet, I'm like, I'm all for it. I want to try it. And all of my health markers improved as well. So obviously your nuts and seeds, you're going to have almonds, walnuts, whatever nuts are out there. You can have some fruits, yams, sweet potatoes, parsnips, turnips to a certain degree. Some fruits are also good. So like your berries are still good because they're high antioxidants and also low carb, your berries. You just have to really choose. Obviously, you can have some alcohol. It just depends, again, on how sensitive you are to sugar. And every now and then you can have dark chocolate, about 70% and above cocoa. And obviously, anything that's high in sugar, starch, and grains are all out. A lot of processed oils. Vegetable oils are basically, research shows that vegetable oils, canola oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, all those industrial oils are so highly processed that they have so much chemicals that it also triggers your insulin response, and it's so bad for you because of all the chemicals that have been used in the processing of the oils. Obviously beer, a lot of carbs. So this just kind of gives you an idea of what your meals will be looking like. So why become fat adapted? Carbs, again, mainly grains and sugars, are actually the main culprit in today's obesity problem and the prevalence of chronic diseases. Because if you think about that little graphic that I showed you in terms of the insulin, if your body is slowly going towards insulin resistance, then you're not able to get the nutrients from your foods, and you're not able to metabolize sugar, and now your cells cannot get everything that it needs to function at its highest level. On top of that, if you're a carb burner, your blood sugar is doing high and low all day, every day. So you're always getting hungry, then you eat carbs, and it's just a vicious cycle. As we age, if you think about it, and we're not able to process glucose as efficiently, our brain uses glucose for energy as well. And so if you think, if your cells in your brain are insulin resistant and cannot use carbs for energy anymore, now we're seeing more and more depression, anxiety, ADD, ADHD, Alzheimer's. I just watched a 12-day series of doctors on Alzheimer's alone, and basically they're saying that a lot of the, obviously all of the Alzheimer's medications don't work because they actually don't treat the cause. And a lot of the doctors are recommending supplements and coconut oil, which has ketones in it, to help with Alzheimer's, because our brains are now becoming more insulin resistant. And so the solution to that is, when you become fat adapted, now your brain can use ketones for energy, and it doesn't need glucose anymore. And so when people start to experience the energy of ketones, something switches in their mind, and they have more mental clarity, mental focus. They can think more clearly. They have sustained energy throughout the day, just because their bodies can now have another source of fuel other than glucose. So by switching your body to use fat for fuel, again, you don't have to rely on carbs anymore, which eliminates the need to eat them. And then you're reducing your overall insulin production throughout your lifetime. That means it's going to be easier for you to keep the weight, take the weight off in the first place, and then not ever have to gain it back. And also not having to worry about putting it back on. And you're treating also the root cause of most chronic diseases, which is inflammation. A huge thing with ketones, it greatly reduces inflammation. Again, because it doesn't need insulin, it doesn't trigger insulin in your system. And a lot of the inflammation our bodies are experiencing right now is because of the insulin, the high carb diets that we now have. So just reducing inflammation in general is huge for our health. That's why my knee pain went away, because it was basically inflammation, right? So again, so this is kind of, if you're used to eating, let's say the typical recommendation, I have the 6-week challenge on the slide just because most of my clients are familiar with that. But basically what it is if we're used to eating high protein, low carb, low fat diets, then we have to eat every 2 to 3 hours, because again, we're still relying on that up and down of your blood sugar, because you're still carb adapted. So if you're eating that way right now to a certain degree, what you need to do is basically cut your protein portion in half or 3/4. And then if you are not used to eating fats with your meals, then you add about 1 to 2 servings, which is about 1 to 2 tablespoons of fat in each meal. And then you want to make sure that the meat is a fattier cut, because if you have like a chicken breast, that would be a higher protein cut than, let's say, chicken thighs. So chicken thighs will have a little bit of fat, a little bit of protein in there. So you're going to get a little less protein from chicken thighs versus chicken breast. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's what you want to do. And then if you're currently using 96 for ground beef, you're going to switch to 85-15 or 80-20 or something like that. Again, because you're going to up your fat intake and you're going to lower your protein intake a little bit. So again, for instance, if you used to eat 4 ounces of chicken breast, then you're going to reduce that to 2 to 3 ounces, and then replace it with chicken thighs, and then maybe have a 1/4 of avocado and a tablespoon of olive oil with your salad dressing on the side. So that would be a meal. So here are again some benefits of being fat adapted. you're just going to have more mental clarity and focus, because again, your brain can now use ketones for energy. And ketones don't require insulin to enter your brain cells, and now your brain will just have this nice sustained fuel source, and you'll have mental clarity and focus throughout the day. You're going to have reduced appetite. That's what happened to me. I no longer have to worry about being hungry all the time and thinking about when my next meal is and looking at the clock and say, when is my next meal, because I'm really, really hungry. Reduced craving for carbs. Again, because you don't have that up and down blood sugar anymore, because you're not relying on carbs for energy. Reduced fat, because now you're able to access your stored body fat for energy. So some people will maybe not see as much of a big loss on the scale, just because any fat they lose, they're also keeping their muscles at the same time. Any fat they lose basically gets used for energy, and then they're building muscle at the same time. So the loss basically evens out, and they don't see it, but they see that their clothes are falling off, that they have to wear a belt. This is actually what happened to me. If you follow me on Facebook, or you're my friend on Facebook, I posted a live video 2 days ago. I had to buy a belt, and I hardly wear belts. I haven't worn a belt in years, but I had to, after I bought these jeans 2 months ago, and they're falling off of me. Actually, all of my jeans are falling off of me, which is a problem, because now I have to go shopping. Again, you have sustained energy and clearer skin, again, because you're reducing the inflammation in your body. So that's huge for a lot of people. Better hormone balance is probably one of my most favorite. I hope you don't think this is TMI. Basically, I haven't really been normal in terms of my menstrual cycle, and recently it's like around the clock. So that's how I know that my hormones are now balanced, because of that. And that's, to me, that's amazing. I think I got messed up because of taking birth control throughout the years, and now I'm all back to normal. And more and more benefits to being fat adapted. We don't have time to discuss all of them right now. So this is an example of how my meals look like in the morning. So I'll probably have 2 eggs and 2 pieces of bacon. That's what I had this morning. And then I put grass-fed butter and coconut oil in my coffee. Coconut oil is high in medium chain triglycerides, and those triglycerides get converted into your liver into ketones. And so that's why I put coconut oil, and a lot of high fat dairy will have it as well, but it's just higher in concentration in coconut oil. I add grass-fed butter because it has omega-3s. You know, whatever the cow eats gets into their fat, and that's why their fat is healthier than, let's say, a grain-fed cow. So that's why I put that in my coffee. So you start your day with just this really good, healthy fat, sustained energy, not triggering any inflammation, not triggering insulin. So you just have this steady energy throughout the day. So this is how my breakfast looks like. Maybe for a snack, if I just want something, I'll probably have another fat coffee is what I call it. And then for lunch, I may have a piece of fatty steak with some broccoli. And then maybe for dinner, if I'm still hungry, I might not even eat dinner, or maybe I'll do what we call intermittent fasting, where you basically skip a meal or two. And I don't worry about skipping a meal and losing my muscle, because when I have ketones in my system, again, it's preserving my muscles. So that's why you can skip a meal and not have to worry about it if you're not hungry. But if I do eat dinner, it's probably something like maybe I'll have another breakfast if I want more breakfast, or I'll have like salmon with salad or Brussels sprouts or something like that. Sometimes if I'm just like wanting a snack, I'll have pork rinds. I'll get some Laughing Cow cheese, the soft kind, the triangles, and I'll dip my pork rinds in the Laughing Cow cheese. So good. That's actually my favorite snack right now. If I'm traveling, that's what you'll see me eating most of the time if I can sit down for a meal. And that satisfies me pretty good for several hours. So once you're fat adapted, remember your carb adapted right now, so it will take about 1 to 2 weeks to actually make your body understand how to use ketones for energy. This is actually how our bodies are designed. We go into ketosis from when we come out of our mother's womb, right away. And if you ask any pediatric nurse or doctor, they actually put MCT oil in the formula. If like a premature baby or something like that, because the babies know how to use ketones for energy, because that's how we're wired. If you think, back in our primal hunter gathering days, we don't have a lot of access to carbs. So most of the time we're eating fat, animal fat, meat, and whatever else we can find, leafy vegetables or whatever. But if you didn't live in a tropical climate, you didn't have a lot of access to carbs. We didn't actually invent grains and all of that until we invented agriculture, which I think is the downfall of our society. It's causing all these health problems because now we have access to lots and lots of carbs, which our bodies don't understand. And that's why we're getting sick and sick as a society. So anyway, I digress. So once you're fat adapted, you only eat when you're hungry and you stop when you're full. You don't have to count calories because you're now more attuned with your body. You don't need to eat 2 to 3 hours. So like I said, I now eat maybe 2 to 3 meals a day, just because I hardly get hungry anymore and I don't crave carbs as much anymore. How do you know that you're fat adapted if you don't want to test if your body is in ketosis? Because there's a blood ketone test where you can test and prick your finger and see, a certain level of ketones in your blood. But if you're not going that route, you can just tell when you're fat adapted because you feel more energy throughout the day. You're not hungry as often. You're not craving carbs as much. You're not in pain anymore, or no pain at all. Glenna, who is my business partner in Houston, she might be on this webinar right now, and I hope she's okay telling her story. After going in the ketogenic diet and the supplement that I'm going to talk with you guys about in a little bit, when she gave birth to her third daughter, she had a fibroid, and the only her doctor said that the only way that she can get rid of the fibroid is with surgery. And so she didn't want to do that. She wanted to find a way to actually get rid of it naturally, if at all possible. So I told her, do the ketogenic diet, because I know if it's inflammation that's causing it, it will help reduce the inflammation. So after 5 weeks of being on the ketogenic diet and adding the supplement that I'm going to talk with you guys about today, she went and got an ultrasound of her fibroid, a recheck of where it is. Is it growing, or is it staying, or is it gone? It was actually gone after 5 weeks, which is amazing. When she told me, my jaw dropped. I'm like, what? I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to happen in 5 weeks. And so that's what happened. And she had to go to a second doctor just to make sure that it was actually gone. And they couldn't believe that she didn't have surgery. And she's like, I don't have any incisions. You can check me for incisions if you want. They couldn't believe it. And so, yeah, that's just one of the most amazing stories. And I have more stories, but we don't have time for all of that. So ketosis in 1 hour. I did a ketogenic diet. I started it back in November of last year, a month after I gave birth. Just on the ketogenic diet alone, I experienced all of those. But then with Keto OS, which is basically a drink that you mix with water, and it helps elevate ketones in your blood. It's basically ketones and you're drinking it, and then you get into ketosis in 1 hour. This is the fastest way to feel the benefits of ketosis. as soon as I was able to, it's really hard sometimes to stay on a strict ketogenic diet just because it's low carb, low protein, moderate protein, high fat. For some people, that's really hard. And with me, even sometimes when in ketosis, my hunger and cravings are still there. What completely eliminated that for me is drinking Keto OS, which is amazing. So it did that in 1 hour. And the first time I took it, it was amazing. I thought that I was running 9.2 miles an hour on the treadmill, and I feel like I was just jogging on the treadmill, which is amazing for me. So Keto OS gets you into ketosis in 1 hour. So if you're following the ketogenic diet, you don't have to suffer through that transition period as well. And then you get to experience the benefits of ketosis right away, which is amazing. So really what we're talking about is just a new perspective. We've all been conditioned to believe that fats are bad for our health, when in fact, carbs are bad for our health. The cholesterol and the triglycerides in our system, our bodies can actually use that. But the problem is when we're eating a lot of carbs, that's what makes them sticky, and that's what makes them clump together, and that's what's causing them to clog our arteries. So in the absence of carbs, and you can use fats now for energy, you won't have to worry about all the whatever heart problems that's supposedly associated with fats. The fact is we've been lied to since the 1950s because the sugar industry paid for this huge propaganda that, oh, sugar is fine in moderation. But who does sugar in moderation, right? Once you have sugar in your system, you're like addicted to it. Now, research after research that I've seen shows that sugar and carbohydrates cause havoc in our bodies. From type 2 diabetes to high cholesterol to blood pressure, all of that is because of carbs. And now a lot of research are now showing that when we become fat adapted, most symptoms of and causes of chronic diseases go away. I read a research paper on Crohn's disease and the ketogenic diet, not even talking about Keto OS, but just the ketogenic diet. People who have Crohn's disease see all of their symptoms go away after 2 weeks of being on the ketogenic diet. That's amazing. Again, a new perspective. There are a lot of doctors who would use the ketogenic diet to treat patients with cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, you name it, they will use it. There's ongoing research right now with cancer alone that is just really, really promising in terms of ketones and using that to stress the cancer cells so that they actually don't, because cancer cells love sugar. That's how they grow and multiply. So if you take glucose away from them and use ketone for energy, you're taking away their food supply. So that's kind of like the main, basic way to explain why it works so well with cancer patients. So I urge you to just investigate and do your own research. Because I can talk about research and all that, but if you want evidence, then go and find it and do your own research, because all of the research that I'm talking about is now available online on PubMed and all of that. Strength training, obviously, again, plays a huge role for anyone, because again, after the age of 35, we lose 0.5 to 1% of muscle mass each year. So because of this, we need strength training to keep our muscles. Obviously, that helps remove sugar from your blood as well. The more muscles you have, it also helps with osteoporosis, because if you have bigger muscles, your bones have to also adapt and get bigger to support your structure, right? And then having muscle is just great for you in general, again, because it keeps your metabolism up. Another way to just remove stress from your body and help, reduce stress in your body. So here is a little bit more detailed, in-depth information on the ketogenic diet. I will find a way, again, I'm using a new system tonight, but I will find a way to send you guys a copy on the ketogenic diet and explain some of the details as well, because obviously we can only cover so much tonight, and I'll be sending that to you guys today. But this is what I'd like for you guys to do. I created this 6-week all online program where you can get a 6-week meal plan using the ketogenic diet along with our workout videos. So it's all online. You don't have to live anywhere close. Our locations, any of our locations, everyone who lives in the United States may participate. And actually, if you're out of state, you might be able to, but I don't know all the legality of that. It starts October 10th. 2016, this year, and it's for 6 weeks. If you were to have a nutritionist, let's say, or a doctor design a 6-week meal plan for you, it's going to be at least $100 or $200. With this program, I'll tell you, it's not going to be $197. In order to participate in the contest, you will have to submit before and after pictures to us, and we'll send you more details once you register. And the top 3 winners will be chosen by all of our team members, and they will win for first prize $500 in cash. Second prize will win $250, and third prize will win $150. So that's a transformation contest, just the basic details. It's $47 only, not $200. So again, you get 6-week meal plans and workout videos as well, so you can work out at home. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to leave. So for busy moms, people who work at home, just really busy, you have 5 jobs or whatever, you can follow the plan and work out at home at the same time. On top of that, first 10 participants who register from this webinar tonight will get a 3-day experience of Keto OS. So basically, you get to experience ketosis right away if you're one of the first 10 people who register for the program. So let me just show you guys real quick. There will be a get started link for you guys to see. It will say reserve your spot now. So if you want to go ahead and reserve your spot, be one of the first 10 to register for the challenge. You get a 3-day serving of Keto OS, and it will take you to our registration page. So I will go in the chat room and now see if you guys have any questions. So type in the chat box if you guys have any questions. I know it takes some time to type, so I'll wait here. I think I'm looking at the right thing. Again, I'm using a new system, so I want to make sure that I'm looking. Thank you, Sean. No questions, you guys? Either that or you just are a really slow typer. I'll wait for a little bit before we go. Okay, if I'm currently in the 6-week challenge, can we do the program? Unfortunately not, Jennifer, but it's good that you're here because then you can start to think of what you can do afterwards. So our goal is, this is what we introduce our members to after they're done with the challenge. If they're looking to try something new, something different. So I would highly advise not to right now, unless your coach tells you that you need to because your body is not responding to the 6-week challenge meal plan. Lynette, how do we get the Keto OS for the entire 6 weeks? I can definitely tell you about that, Lynette. Once you register for the program, I will give you more information on that. But if you'd like to email me directly, you can respond to the webinar registration, and I can give you more information that way as well. There will be a link where you can go and do that, depending on who referred you to the webinar. Karen asked, can I do it again? For sure, you can definitely do it again. Joan, I'm in my first 6-week round challenge. Can I still do fat adapted transformation? That's the same question that Jennifer asked. So no, I apologize. I hope you can't right now. But again, if your coach says that it's better for you to do fat adapted, then that might be a way to go. But you're gonna have to follow what your coach tells you. And you also can participate in the 6-week challenge and the contest at the same time. Lynette asked, how much is the Keto OS? It comes out to about $5 per serving for a packet, depending on how much dose you need to have really feel the effects of ketosis. You may use a packet or a half packet every day. So that all depends. And then there's also ways where you can earn the product for free if you really like it. And most people love the effects of Keto OS. And so we can help you with all of that as well. We can go offline if you'd like. And I can kind of go over some options depending on your goals and what you're going to use it for. Will you be able to offer this challenge after another 6 weeks? I will have to look at the calendar to see how much time we have before the holidays kick in after the 10th. So I may be able to squeeze another one in before the end of the year. So we'll see. Can you show the pictures of the top 3 winners? Oh yeah, definitely. Let me see. Let me switch my screen share and go to the entire screen. And yes, thank you, Olive, for asking that. So this is actually our, let me see. Can you guys see my screen? Make sure. Yeah. Okay. So let me see. This were our finalists from last time. So Jenya, Sherry is our 3rd place. Sherry Broussard is our 3rd place. Karen, I know you're there and you're watching. She is our 1st place. Amazing transformation. Everyone did so well, and I think part of that is because the food is so yummy. Monica, great job as well. Felicia is our 2nd place. You can totally see it. The main problem that we had judging, Joan, oh my gosh, if you can look and see, look at her, let me see if I can make this bigger. You can see just her abs, they're showing, you know. Megan, unfortunately, we can't see her shirt, what's hiding underneath her shirt, but look how she looks. I mean, wow, hourglass, you know. So even if they didn't win, because we only can choose 3 winners, it's just amazing, the transformations. And I'm sure that they are, how do you call this, they are feeling much better as well. Let's see more questions. When should we start the fat adapted program after the challenge? After the challenge is when you want to start. So if you're not moving to another round, I would definitely recommend start right away if you can. What we're looking to do in the future is whenever a challenge ends, a 6-week challenge ends, 2 weeks after the fat adapted contest starts. So that way our past challengers and current members are, how do you call it, are able to have more structure, something that they can actually stick to for life. Can you please explain in short how doing this diet helps you to lose weight? I mean, I think I explained that pretty well, but if it wasn't clear, so it helps you lose weight because, again, you're not triggering insulin as often anymore. So that means that the amount of insulin that you produce is how much weight you gain. So if you're not triggering that insulin response, then that means that you're not going to gain as much weight anymore. And on top of that, if you're burning fat for energy, any stored body fat that you have is now going to go and be used for energy, and you're not going to store it anymore. So those are two main ways that you can lose weight. I have clients that they try a 10-day serving of Keto OS, not even changing anything, not even doing the ketogenic diet. Tasha, I don't know if you're watching, she bought a 10-day pack from me and she lost 12 pounds without changing anything. Amazing. Amy asked, I hope that answered your question, Lynette. Amy asked, can you stop using Keto OS after the first week or two if we're eating correctly? You definitely can, Amy, especially if you can keep your ketone levels up with just the ketogenic diet alone. But what I found is anyone who's experienced that just that higher level of ketones in their blood miss the effect of Keto OS. So I say if you can afford to take Keto OS, and you're gonna experience the benefits, the health benefits of Keto OS, definitely do keep taking Keto OS. Okay, where do you purchase Keto OS? The Joan, whoever referred you to the webinar can help you. But if you have my email, we can talk offline, and I can, I don't know that I can post a link here. But I don't want to post my link because if you were referred by somebody, I want them to be able to help you with your purchase and also, you know, guide you in how to use their product and everything. So if you want to just reach out to me, I can connect you and give you the information. If somebody referred you, I can redirect you to the person who referred you. Are the meats special? Yes, Amy, thank you. That's a great question. All the meats like bacon, you can have deli meats if you can find nitrite-free meats, because you can definitely have the salt, but the nitrites and the nitrates are still bad for you. So if you can find, and it's so available now, you guys, like you don't even have to go to like Whole Foods to get nitrite-free bacon anymore. It's all, I can go to Walmart and get everything that I need for this program. So it's amazing. All right. Are those all your questions? I think you can hear my toddler in the background wanting to get into the room. I'm sorry. There are specific side effects in terms of transitioning from being a carb burner into a fat burner initially. Like, yes, definitely. Jennifer, just like in any transition, if you don't remember how you transition from, you know, eating your diet before the 6-week challenge, it's kind of similar, but there are definitely ways that you can do that. And one of the reasons that you can minimize that transition is to do the meal plan that I designed, because I obviously did some troubleshooting on my own to make sure to minimize all of those headaches, tiredness, you know, all of that. You may still experience it, but not as much if you're going through a structured program. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. This is why I offered a program at such a low price, so that even if you're not thinking of doing the contest and submitting your before and after pictures, but you just want the structure, it will still help you a lot, because then you don't have to figure out everything on your own. We're also going to have a private Facebook group for this, TFX, right? We're known for our support group. And so you can definitely ask all the questions that you want in there as well. All right, that was a really great session. Great questions, guys. If there are any other questions that come up after we're done, you know, just email me at Anna, ANNA, at transformfxfitness.com, or Anna.dornier@gmail.com, if that's easier, and I'll answer your questions there as well. Other than that, I think we're good. Thank you for coming. I am honored to give you this information tonight, and I hope to continue working with you in the future with the Fat Adapted Transformation Contest. Bye, guys. Have a great night.